Alright, so tell the YouTube people what you're up to this time.
Well, this is July the 6th, and Nathan and I went up to Huntington to shop for groceries and made an appointment to have my car fixed because the air conditioning doesn't work on it. And we bought some stuff to have for lunch when we got back to my place, which is here. And we went to a Pace store at Mount Union and bought some macaroni salad, which was very good. And would you call it a hoagie?
I guess so.
And then we bought a hoagie and split it. And the macaroni salad was good and the hoagie was good. And what else did we buy up there? Oh, we bought a ham hock and some pot pie. It's like they made it at the store. They make pot pie up there at Pace store right out of Mount Union, and it tastes like a real homemade pot pie. So someday I'll cook the ham hock and cook the pot pie and some potatoes with it. Sometimes I put a little bit of onions in my pot pie. And Pace store is a nice place to go to buy what are some of the things that we buy up there.
Well, they got a lot of good meat and cheese. They got a good assortment of, produce and stuff like that. And
The things that the Amish make, as it turns
lots
out.
of, folky, like, arts and crafts type things, and
They do have a lot of nice things up at.
a lot of handmade wooden things and whatnot. And
I never went to Pace store that there weren't people in there buying
they're always
things.
busy.
They're always busy. So when we left there, we went down the back way, down along the river. What would you call that road?
It's just Route 103.
Yeah. And if you keep following that road, you come out in Licking Creek. One of the things that I like when I take a ride is Licking Creek. Now don't say Licking Creek, just say Licking Creek, because that's what we call it. And then we came down through Ride. That's where Florence used to live when she was young. Ride. And there was this guy. This is supposed to be a true story. He was going up the road and a cop stopped and said, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Ride." "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Ride." And the cop didn't know the Ride was the name of a place. So that's where he was going. He was going to Ride. And if you lived in Ride when you were a kid, you would talk like the people from Ride, yeah.
One has to wonder just where that name came from.
I don't know.
Because it's spelled R-Y-D-E.
I guess. And Florence says a lot of things that they say at Ride. Like a piano. A piano. And what's some of the other things that she says?
Well, there's a lot of them.
A very lot. I have to write them down so we can remember them. And
Well, one of the things I thought would be interesting for this time, what we were just doing, looking through a lot of those old pictures and whatnot,
Yes.
and thinking about stuff, from way back then, and all these people, and
yes, there's a picture of me when my 80th birthday. You know what? That's been 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago when I was 80 years old. And they had a birthday party for me. So when I turned, 10 years later, when I turned to 90, they didn't have a birthday party for me, but they Linda told everybody to send me a card. I said, just tell them to send me a card for my 90th birthday. So she did that. And I got a lot of beautiful cards for my 90th, and that'll soon be a year. I'll be 91. And then, what do you have a picture of?
Well, the reason why anybody that's watched this channel has seen, they know what I look like. They've seen what the inside of my house looks like. They know what kind of junk I have sitting around. And I wanted to make a point that this picture I'm about to show was literally just 10 years ago. And it's in my house, and you can see I still had pretty much the same kind of junk back then. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing a suit sort of outfit, that was my high school graduation. And as you can see, I was a lot, less heavy back then, but you can tell that's my house, and I'm still working on old computer junk.
And you're still living there.
So, yeah.
I moved out, and your mom and Billy moved in.
The point I'm trying to make there is, even though it's 10 years later, some things never change.
I've been sitting around doing not too much lately because I've been sick. I had pneumonia. I was in the hospital 2 nights and 2 days. And then last week, Nathan, was that a week ago or 2 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, Nathan had to take me down to the emergency room because I was sick again and my legs hurt. Well, this doctor down there in the emergency room discovered that the reason my legs were hurting so badly, it was the antibiotic they put me on for the
pneumonia.
Yes, when I was in the hospital for pneumonia. So what they gave me for that was
it was tramadol just to help with the pain.
Tramadol, that was for the medicine that I was allergic to, antibiotic that I was allergic to. So poor old Nathan had to sit there in the hospital for about all afternoon. Well, I lay there and went, oh, my legs hurt, my legs hurt. They really did hurt, but I made a big fuss so they'd get their attention. They weren't even paying any attention to me. Were they, Nathan?
Well, it's not like there might have been somebody dying in another room.
They maybe felt a little worse than I did. And ouch, each, ouch, ouch, ouch. I thought maybe I could get somebody's attention. And I wasn't putting it on either. They hurt. My legs hurt. And finally I said to Nathan, why don't you go someplace and get something to eat? That's all it took. That's when they said I could go home while he was going to get something to eat and go up and let the dogs out at his house. So, headed on back down again. We went up to, where did we go after that?
That was really the only place we went back home, and then we came back here.
Yeah. Well, Nathan was anxious to check out the dogs because he was supposed to be letting them out to go to the bathroom, and he was afraid they made a mess in the house.
Well, I hadn't been home for 9 hours at that point.
But it worked out that they were okay, the dogs were okay, and I was okay. But I was sick for a couple of days, weeks. So I'm still not back to par. Somebody's mowing the lawn outside.
Yeah, they are.
Ooh. They go fast, don't they?
Kinda. Anyway, before we wrap this up, this week. Since we just passed a holiday, do you have any sort of July 4th related memories or anything like that?
I remember that our dad always bought us some kind of firecrackers and that little guns that you shot caps.
Yeah.
And in the evening we put off our own fireworks in the evening. I don't think it was against the law in those days to have fireworks. And I remember set a scrib that was something to boom on the fence rail, and then set a can on the top of it, and it would fly up in the air whenever it went off. And we were really into doing things for the 4th of July, our own things with our little cap guns, and they come in rolls, and you put them in the gun in a roll, and we put them off in the evening.
Well, this year would be the country's 240th birthday,
Yeah.
And of course that means 40 years ago they had the bicentennial. Since that was before my time, I know that was something that was made a big deal of at the time. Do you remember anything specific about that?
Well, I do, but I always bought you some sparklers.
Well, I'm talking about specifically the bicentennial, 40 years ago.
40 years ago. Not really. They had down at the fire hall, the first year I lived down here, I think it was the first year, they put off fireworks that we could go out here in the field and watch them. But this year nobody seemed, I didn't go out and look anyhow. But up home, where Nathan lives now, we used to sit out in a lawn chair and look down over the hill. And they had put fireworks off down at the campground.
They still do that.
Down at Bowser's campground and some other places around that you could see people putting fireworks off.
They definitely still do that.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
And it was a good place to sit on to see them because we lived up on the hill and the campground was down along the river and we could watch them.
I actually drove down through there over the weekend. I forget exactly what day it was. I don't think it was right on July 4th. I think it might have been the day before, possibly the day before that. But, there was just car after car. There was even a stage set up with a band down there at that campground.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's Bowser's campground?
Yeah, down there at the same old campground, just music blaring away.
I remember one time there was a flood and we stood up there on our front porch and watched a lot of the campers go floating down the river.
I can remember, I don't remember exactly what year it was. I want to say about 2004. There was a flood down there that was up over the road, and I remember our neighbor took his boat out across there. He took his boat right out, just backed it down the road, and just right out down the road with it he went.
Well, he would do something like that.
Oops.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we lived up on the hill then in those days. Now, a lot of people from where I'm sitting live up on the hill. Rusty lives up there. Brattons live up there.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know are moving in here. Like Ida, my sister-in-law, Thelma. We used to play, we had a card club where we played, what did we play?
Well, you guys used to play a lot of different stuff from what I can
Well, we
remember.
play 500 room now.
I know,
Right up
I
here
know
there.
you used to have this big blue box.
Oh, we put pennies on.
Yeah, that game.
I forget what you call that.
I think it was called Triple E.
Yes, I have one of them in there.
Probably the same one.
Probably. And anyhow, it's nice to live in these apartments because we're like one big family. And get along pretty well with everyone. Eula, for example, likes to cook, so she'll make you something you like and bring it over. She used to make pies for the restaurant down here. And I don't really like to cook, so if somebody gives me something, I really appreciate it.
Well,
Like
it wasn't last week, but it was the week before when you really weren't feeling good. Remember, I cooked you a meal.
That's right. Nathan cooked him and I a meal, and it turned out pretty good. He made pork chops and mashed potatoes and gravy. And
Well, I would like to think that
green
as a
beans.
fat person, I know how to do food.
Green beans, and that was a pretty good meal. And he even did the dishes. That's what part I liked.
Well, do you have any closing words for this video? Because we're running a bit long for time.
Well, I'm just glad that I have a grandson like Nathan, and he's going to take my car on Friday and have the air conditioning fixed. We drove around in it today with no air conditioning. This is one of the hottest days of the summer. So I think he's ready to get air conditioning fixed now.
Well, I'd like to make a point that only one of us was complaining the entire time.
Wonder who that was.
So is that all you got for this one?
Yeah, I guess that's it.